You know, people always told me that I shouldn't work in jail. Shouldn't even go to jail. But I ain't got time for that. I went anyway. And I love what I do. I love teaching yoga in jail, and I am so grateful for the opportunity. So do what you love.
Hey everyone, it's Neffy Anderson here with a brand new episode of The Path Less Traveled, a web series spotlighting millennial entrepreneurs who successfully turn their passions into lucrative careers. Today's guest is model, actress, and yoga instructor, Bri Skolar. Now let me give you a rundown on Bri, okay? Bri is most known for being a finalist on America's Next Top Model, an achievement that has led her to grace the runways, commercials, magazines of some of your favorite brands like Target, you know, Old Navy, Valentino. When she's not in front of the camera, Bri can be found teaching yoga through the Urban Peace Squad. Now, what's that? Well, not all superheroes wear capes. Bri created this nonprofit organization in order to provide mental, emotional, physical wellness to underserved communities such as prisons and low-income neighborhoods. Bri, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk to you today. And, you know, catch up with your girl. Absolutely. Now, like how they do in church when they give you a moment to take out your Bible, I'm going to give you a moment to take out your phones. You want to make sure that you live tweet this episode using the hashtag TPLT series. So, Bri, we all met you on America's Next Top Model, and oftentimes when we're introduced to people on television, we kind of put them in a time capsule. And like, you never grow up, you never age, you always Bri from America's Next Top Model. So talk to me about how the person you are now is different from the person that we met like 10, 12 years ago.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
You know that I am who I am, right? And so just like you are who you are, you evolve, you grow, but at the core you are exactly who you are. And so, you know, I think I was a lot more naive as a 19-year-old. I was just coming straight out of Harlem, you know? So I didn't have much culture or life experience yet, but I think I did the best that I could with what I knew.
Right.
You know, since then, it was maybe like 12, 15 years ago, like I've had the opportunity to travel, to meet other cultures, to be in different environments, different settings. And so who I am is still like that Harlem girl from around the way, but, you know, I can speak on different things now. So I love that people put me in this capsule. Yeah. Right? Because that really is like at the center.
You embracing it? You embracing it?
Absolutely.
I love it.
I think, well, I'm grateful that you remember.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I love the fact that people remember me from this time. It's just like extended now. Like it's just an evolution of that person that they knew or they met many years ago. You know what I mean?
Speaking of many years ago, you were on season 5. I think we're up to like season 24 now of America's Next Top Model.
Right.
Now back then there was no social media, there was no Instagram, there's no Twitter.
We didn't have any of that.
Zero.
Facebook was still only for college students.
Right. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about how you are, you know, doing in this social media game, because, you know, we live in a world of Instagram models, right? Yes. So what are you doing to compete? How are you, you know, intentionally branding yourself and keeping your edge?
I think, actually, a friend of mine said something to me that I thought was really important. It's like you have to grow with the times. Otherwise, you'll be bitter. And so, like, you know, we are in a social media stage. It doesn't mean that I have to like revamp myself and be this totally different person to fit the times, but I have to be accepting of the times changing. And so I still get to be me and say, okay, well, this is me on social media. This is not like this new person because we have social media, you know, and I don't have to stay stagnant in like 2005. You know, and I see so many photographers, so many makeup artists, so many models that they want to stay in this time set where they are used to being comfortable. Like, I was rich and famous in this time, and now girls are doing this, and it's not real. And it's like, times are changing. You have to grow with the times. Otherwise, you'll stay stagnant, and you'll be bitter about it. And you can't do that. Like, you have to grow. Right. You know?
Do you feel, you know, like there's any competition from the Instagram models? Like, what makes you different? What are you doing to stand out or to, you know, maintain your edge?
I'm not competing. And here's why, right? Because it's a burnout to compete for me. Like, because there's always going to be someone who has a special, unique talent that they want to provide, the social media world, and I can't compete with somebody else's gift. I can only stay in my lane, you know? And so...
Y'all got that? I cannot compete with somebody else's gift. I felt that.
No, but yes, it's true for me,
Yeah.
right? So, like, everything I say is not a fact. It's just how I feel, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't. And so I have many IG girlfriends who they have like 200 million followers or whatever, and I don't. And I'm like, that doesn't mean that they're better than and I'm less than them. It's just they've capitalized off of the time that this is their time, this is their moment, and this is how I'm sustaining mine. Like,
Right.
and I'm so 100% content in like what I'm providing is quality,
Right.
and so is theirs.
Right.
I don't have to compete with either way,
Right.
either one. You know what I mean?
Right. Talk to me about the sustaining part.
Okay.
I mean, this industry is crazy.
Yeah.
What is your bread and butter? How are you keeping the lights on? Because sometimes, like, the checks don't come right away.
Right. I'm glad that you asked that question because, you know, my journey has been, in a way, it's mine, but it's been backwards. So, you know, I dropped out of college to become a model. I saw an opportunity with America's Next Top Model. And so while my friends were graduating school, while they were starting internships, like the traditional journey, I was an entrepreneur. I was a freelancer. I was traveling the world. I was a businesswoman at like 20, 21. I have an accountant, like learning how to do taxes or learning the hard way when you don't pay taxes. You know what I mean? Like, and so now, after freelancing for about 12, 13 years, like there's this like relief that I have of being on salary. I have never experienced this until today, of like stability, of planning, things that I did not get to do as a freelancer, and that's important to me. And not only that, I get to schedule my passion around my profession, and they're not the same anymore. And I like it that way. I like it that way because I can really use my passion as an artistic channel and not like this desperation because this is how I eat, sleep, you know, keep my fame. It's spreading myself too thin when I do that. Like, passion can just be my passion now, and my bread and butter can just be that. So for me, having the two separate has worked, whereas like other people, they're like, no, I like all of it. It's like all in.
Yeah.
I can't be all anymore. It gives me anxiety. It makes me like crazy, and I don't feel like I'm my best self when I'm trying to eat.
Right.
And be creative and compete with a million different models. Like, I just need an opportunity to be the art that I see in myself and leave it at that. It doesn't even matter what's going to happen with that because I'm going to eat regardless.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Right.
So that's where I am in my life now. So I definitely did it backwards. Like, now all my friends are like entrepreneurs. They're like, I hate this. I'm done. I'm out of this. And I'm like, girl, you can have it.
Yeah.
Be a freelancer forever.
Right.
I need a 401k.
Right.
I am getting older. I want to get married one day. I want to set my life up where I'm okay and not like, because the dream only sounds good. Living it is like, okay, how am I going to retire off of this? Mm-hmm. How much do I have to save of my annual income a year so that I have an IRA? Because 401ks do not come as a freelancer. Like, so much on the business side of freelancing that I'm like, I don't even have to worry about that now. I'm good. I can just have art as art.
So what is your passion and what is your bread and butter?
So my bread and butter, so all of my work is in underserved communities now.
Okay.
Which I love, right? And I love it because I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out of this artistic world and really bringing that into a desert. Because that's what an underserved community is to me. It's a desert. We have a lack of resources. We have a lack of attention, positively. And so I'm a program director in a school, a charter school in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Woo woo!
Yeah. It's real out there. This is not the gentrified area of Bed-Stuy, and it is work, and it is hard. It is hard beating down the mentality that, you know, we're accustomed to, which is a hopelessness, and say, like, you can be this light and be it anywhere. And so I work with the kids. So right now I have kindergarten through 5th grade. I love my kids. Out of all of our kids, maybe 85% of them are on the spectrum for IEP, for social emotional disorders. So this is not for the faint of heart. Like, I'm literally going into the Lion's Den every day. Like, but I like trauma work. Right. So this is my bread and butter. Also, you know, I teach yoga at Rikers Island and MDC, so I have the men, women, and the transgender unit, and they're trying to get me to do the adolescent union, but listen, I don't like adolescents, so I'm not doing them in jail, straight up. But, that's my bread and butter, is that every day I have a fulfilling job that's purposeful. It makes me feel selfless. It makes me feel of service to the world. And this makes me feel more as if there's a legacy to leave, right? Because it's not about me. Like, whether I'm alive or not, the work that we're putting in to create a better environment, it's a ripple effect. It'll continue to go.
Right.
And so after, like, the tension headaches, the 7,000 cups of coffee a day working in that field,
right.
I love going to my art, which is Urban Peace Squad, right? Where it's a donation base where I can go into the community and say, you don't have to pay. This is not about your money. We need you more than we need your money. Let me teach you how to do yoga. We started in project houses. I would do yoga in the middle of the projects, and, they would laugh at me and be like, you're an idiot. What are you doing? But it opened the door for them to ask me a question. And so once they ask me a question, I say, this is something we call peace, and this is how you get it. And they'd be like, well, how much I have to pay? Actually, nothing. Right. And so now I just have this like, energy just for, like, giving. Right. I don't have to say, I want to give and be responsible because I need my bread too. Right. I could just be like, nah, it's just for you, man. That's it. So that's what I do when I'm not doing that. And yeah, that comes with the photo shoots. And I mean, I love shooting, but more so for stories. Like, there should be some outcome. Like, you should feel a certain way at the beginning of my images, and towards the end, I should be taking you on a journey. Otherwise, it's not really, there's no purpose.
Right.
And I think I'm done with purposeless work.
All right, so you gave me a lot to unpack.
I'm so sorry.
No, I love it. I'm just like,
Okay.
keep on talking. I'm gathering my bag of gems.
Okay.
So I want to take it back a little bit.
Okay.
I want you to tell me about that turning point when you realized that, like, modeling was something that you no longer wanted to do.
I was 26. I was living in LA, and I think I was wasting energy trying to fit in this way of life that wasn't designed for me, and that's why it wasn't working. I was in LA beating my head on the concrete trying to be an actress, trying to be a correspondent, trying to be this super duper famous model that keeps up with the times, and it was no after no after no after no, and for some people that fuels them, but for me it felt like I was going against the grain, like I was going up the current, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Like, I got tired of living like that. Like, literally, I remember, I don't know if you guys ever been to LA, but there's something called Laurel Canyon. It's like this one, and I would be on Laurel Canyon, gripping the steering wheel, screaming and crying, and then park in the garage and get ready for an audition and go upstairs like it didn't happen. And it's like, I cannot live this dual life of anxiety and stress and misery and then pretend like it's not happening just for the camera. And drinking and drugs are a big part of my story. And you get tired of living like that too. I think everything just kind of snowballed into, like, okay, turning point. Do you want to live or do you want to die? Because first you spiritually die, and then physically you just kind of deteriorate. And I was dead, and no one cared because I looked great.
Yeah.
And that's another part.
I was just going to say that, people's perception of success is so different. You can look so successful on the inside, but internally you don't feel that way.
Yeah.
And then you end up feeling like you're acting in your own life, you know? And you're afraid to let the people that are rooting you on, cheering you on, you're afraid to let them down. You're afraid to let yourself down.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you're just frozen in time. You feel like you're trapped in your own life.
Yeah.
Your life is not yours anymore. You're living for somebody else with the expectations that others have for you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, coming from poverty, the thing is, like, there's this perception that I gave myself that, like, I can't come home a failure. My community's so proud that I made it out. So I have to stay in LA. No matter what it looks like, I have to stay. And so it was like this obligation that, like, no matter what, I can't let them know that this hurts. And then it's also what the community gives me. Like, you're ungrateful. You got to get out. You have to do well. You should do this. You should do that. And, like, too many voices drowns out my own. And so I'm stuck. I'm trapped. And no one cares as long as you're beautiful. Mm-hmm. Absolutely no one cares as long as you're on television. Like, because what it looks like is so much more profound than what it feels like, right? And then one day I just couldn't. I went to rehab and I stayed. I think people go to rehab in LA as like a vacation detox, and I was like, no, I'm staying. You can't make me leave. Yeah. And I came out. It's funny because I had a yoga instructor in rehab in LA, and it's so LA rehab. I'm sorry, guys, to disappoint you.
Now, was this your first time? Had you been before?
No, this was my first time. Like, your mom doesn't send you away for you to, like, call her and be like, hey, I'm in rehab.
Yeah.
It went bad out here. She was like, oh, my God, my child. Yeah, it got a little rough. But I had this yoga instructor in rehab who would teach every Wednesday, and she would put lavender on us. And it was the only person that made me feel better about my life, that I didn't, like, screw it up. And so I just kind of knew when I left rehab that I was going to give that service back to someone else. I just didn't know, like, in what form. And so that's how I started teaching in jail.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, leading you up to rehab, I know that the drugs and alcohol didn't start after Top Model.
Thank you for knowing that. I was who I was before I got there.
Yes.
And I think this is like a perception that needs to be smashed, right? This cultural thing we have where, like, in New York, we smoke a lot of weed, we drink a lot of cocoloso, we had nutcrackers growing up. So culturally, this is what I saw.
Right.
So it can't be problematic because whenever there's a social gathering with family, there's drinking. Not you, Mommy. Mommy doesn't drink.
Yeah.
But, people, they drink to loosen up, especially when you work in a very, very intense environment and you want to be good at it. And, and only you can say what is enough for you. For me, it was the brunches, mimosas, and then the hors d'oeuvres. And then afterwards, of course, we have to go to dinner and we're drinking again. And then we have to go to an after party because we're lit up now. We got to keep it going. And then you got to get up, goddammit, and do it all over again. Eventually it turned into, like, I am not having a conversation without shades and a glass of wine. Like, I just can't. But really, it looks great, but it was more like I really can't function. Like, I can't think without those things.
So how did you face those issues? Because I know that you've been through a lot. Like, you are strong.
You think so? Thanks.
No, I know so. You've been through so much, just knowing your story, knowing what you went through, like, just 2 years prior to joining America's Next Top Model. You went through a lot. So how did you face those things?
It was never my intention to get sober. I just needed a break. I needed a break from my life. And so that's what rehab was for me. And then when I got there, they asked so many questions. I just, Jesus Christ, these people get paid to ask so many questions. And then it was painful to answer them, but it would feel great to release them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where my journey started with healing, like talking about sexual trauma, so my story is I've been raped and molested. And, and it was a very hard thing to discuss. Mm-hmm. But once I released it, it was like, oh, God, it feels so good.
Right.
And then, the thing about truth is, like, once you accept it and own it, you can't live. You've already filled your belly with the truth, so it's very hard to fill it again with, like, anything inauthentic.
Right.
But that's where it started. That's where the healing started, was when I was in rehab. And I remember my mom was there. I always got to, like, throw you under the bus. And we were like, so me and my mom were 22 years apart. We're like sisters. So we're like pushing and fighting and screaming in rehab. And I'm like, it's your fault I'm here. And she's like, I didn't know any better. I was a kid too. And, like, we're screaming in the hallway. And I'll never forget this day that the counselor came and was like, ladies, stop. And he turned to me and he said, I am so sorry somebody hurt you. And I realized that so much of my life had been about placing the blame that I had never really apologized. No one took the time to say, I'm sorry. And that, like, hearing those words of accountability changed my life. I mean, like, to live without accountability today seems absolutely impossible, because it literally started this journey of healing for me, that somebody said, this happened, and I am so sorry because it was wrong. Changed. You spend so much time fighting, like, whose fault is it? Was it your fault? Was it my fault? And nobody even wants to say it happened and it was bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's what just, after that, something just changed in me.
Right. Did you ever get that accountability from the people that hurt you? So I know that one of...
Heck no.
Yeah. Okay.
He tries.
Okay.
You know, so to be very honest with you, it's a very close person in my life, a family member, and, you know, I forgive him. I really do. I'm not letting go of what happened because I have to live with it every day. I have to work on myself every day, you know, in my adult life. But I have compassion for him because he's sick too, right? And so I've had coffee with this man. He cannot acknowledge it because it's so painful for him. And I see that, and I see him dying in his own secrecy, which launches me into the light all the time. I can't live in darkness. I'll die because I'm watching someone die in their own secrets, in their own darkness. And I say all the time, you know I forgive you, right? You know I love you, right? You know you're okay, right?
Now that's why I'm just like, you are so strong, because I don't know if that could be me. Because sometimes you want those things for yourself. Like, you know that you're not supposed to hold on to grudges. You know that you're not supposed to hold on to bad feelings that somebody else has left you with or harm that they've done to you. But just because you're not supposed to doesn't mean that, like, you know, your feelings are not something you can just turn on and off like a light switch. You know what I mean? So the fact that you were able to get to that place just makes me admire you like 1,000 times more. It's just like, wow. You know, I get like just chills because I know that that is a difficult thing to do. And no matter how much you try to like will yourself to, it's like one of those things that you can't skip steps in the process, you know?
But, you know, there's tools, right? And so I have tools today that I didn't have before.
All right, so share them, girl. We need them.
Right.
We need them.
So my tools before, remember, was like my hard reset, my hard pause. It was to drink. It was to do all other drugs that come with drinking, which was, you know, like they worked until they didn't. They were my best friend until they weren't. And so when I didn't have them, I had to learn how to live on my own 2 feet. And so you know, and I'm not religious. I'm very, very spiritual though. Like, and so one of the prayers that someone taught me was like, always pray for the person who hurt you. And this is so good if you've ever been through a breakup, like do this. So you have to pray and give that person, for that person to have everything that you ever wanted to have for yourself. And you're not going to believe this prayer. You're not going to connect with it at first. You're convincing yourself that one day you will want to see this person well. You will want to see this person with all the things that you want for yourself. And eventually in time, you're free. And so I'm so free from the experience, right? Like it didn't disappear, but I'm free from it. It doesn't hold me in bondage. And I think my freedom shocks him. And he thought I would die in it because he's dying in it. So much so that one day he said to me, I love you. I cannot have any type of contact with you because I'm still not well enough to be around someone like you. And that was him in the most honorable way, healing himself in me to say, like, I will still hurt you. I will rape you. The way he looked at me that day and he said, I cannot. I'd rather, you know, his whole house is black sheets everywhere, very dark. I brought him a plant and I wished for him everything that I wished for myself. And I freed him too. But it starts with this prayer that you don't connect with yet. It starts with, I wish for you all types of good. Do it with a breakup. I swear, it'd be like, I wish you so much success in this new relationship. Yeah. I'd be in the house losing it like, I hope it goes well. But it does. It's for me, it has freed me. I invite you to try. It's better than just staying in your sadness. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
So that was one of your number one tools.
Absolutely. Or you can write about it. I always like to bullet point. So I learned that there's a way to journal.
Okay. Because
you'll burn out if you write long, drawn out stories. Sometimes it's good and it's therapeutic to do 10 minutes of just writing. But to be consistent with that, you will burn out.
Okay.
I will burn out, speaking first person.
I do need some journaling tips though, because I'll be trying to journal, but when I read it back, I want to know what's going on. So I'm telling all parts of the story. So it's this is what I was wearing. And then, it's too much detail. And then I'm just I can't do no more.
You burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bullet points. What happened? That's it. What happened? How'd you feel? And, what happened after that or whatever. Yeah. Just bullet point it. It makes you get to the point. What happened?
Yeah.
I slapped him.
Yeah. Yes.
He called the cops. You know, because you got to be real with yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be real with you.
Yeah.
You start telling the story, you lying to yourself, right? No,
Right.
because he had said this, and if he didn't say that, then I wouldn't have.
Right.
I slapped him.
Right. Okay. All
And
right.
I'm in jail. So, bullet point facts.
Right.
Leave out the details.
I love it. Okay, so the story about you doing yoga in prison
Yeah.
by choice, not by like community service. Talk to me about that. I think her name is Miss Annette, you said? Or Neek?
Annika.
Annika. See, I was all tired. I was like, Annika.
So Annika owns Liberation Prison Yoga.
Okay.
And so it's her organization that I work out of in jail. And so Annika, her mom sold her into sex trafficking when she was 6. I was not excited about working with this woman because I just wanted to go for drugs. I was like, oh, I am all in recovery. I love working with drugs. Let me work with the drug addicts. She was like, no.
Yeah.
You need to work with the women in trauma. And I was like, I don't want to hear my story. I don't want to hear it. I'm good. I'm free. I got to go back. So I started working with COs. So when I got my certification for yoga, I came back to LA I came from LA to New York. I got my certification in yoga. I went to visit Rikers just to do like a motivational speech.
Okay.
I got cursed out. And I loved it. And so there's a 7-second delay between the bubble that's the COs are in and you on the field. And so I was like, damn, they're going to kill me. And they'd have like a 7-second head start. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it was this old woman in jail. Why she was like 80-something in jail is none of my business, okay? And so she came and she had a Bible. She was like, will you sign my Bible? And I was like, no, I'm not going to sign your Bible. She was like, nobody comes voluntarily to see people like us. I just need something to say that this really happened. And after that, I was like, I'm teaching in jail. I'm teaching in jail because they need to know they're not forgotten. So I found Annika online. And again, I was super excited. I was like, I want to teach drug addicts. She was like, no, your story, you need trauma. And I started with teaching COs, which kind of changed my perspective on cops when I saw the level of stress that they were going through. And then she put me in the transgender unit, which was a ball of fun. Transgender girls are like the best. They would cut up their uniforms. I remember one Halloween, they put all of their chairs together and we were on the road. And they were singing. And if you behave well, you could keep your wig. So, you know, they be in there. You always know who's not on their best behavior because they be back to their cornrows. You'd be like, girl. And then, you know, and then each year I progressed. And so then she put me in the unit with, it was called the PC unit where women kill children. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then you hear their perspective. I didn't know who to pray for. I was like, the kids are gone. Or, you know, like, do I pray for the women? Like, I just didn't know. And it was mostly postpartum depression. That, you know, on the news, it'd be like this heinous crime, but they were untreated postpartum depression. A lot of women who have been, like, sex trafficked, they would kill their children thinking they were saving them from the cruelty of the world. It was so many dynamics. And what I learned was either I'm going to let darkness, like, suck me under, or remember my purpose, which is all I'm supposed to do is teach yoga. Like, staying, like, once I start adding judgment, that's God's work. So once I get in his way, then I'm out of whack, and all I need to do is get in here and teach yoga. And then she took me to the rape unit, and I was like, now listen, that's enough, okay? Like, I'm done.
You pushed me too far.
But, you know, for a woman who's been sex trafficked since she was 6 years old, I remember we were teaching in the rape unit, and these are mostly pedophile men, and when we were teaching, the men, they look like children, first of all. They look like very scared young boys, like no matter how old they are. And I remember one of them looked up and was like, can you please help me do Warrior 2? And I'm like, hell no. And I saw Annika get up and adjust him, as if like she never knew that he raped all of his kids. You know, like she adjusted him and was like, sure. And what I learned was everybody deserves peace. Everybody. It is not your place to say who can have it, who cannot. And then I was like, damn it, Annika, let's do Urban Peace Squad. We got to take this outside so people know that no matter what, they deserve peace. And then after that, I was like, you're either built for jail or you're not. I don't know. Like, it feels good to walk out every day, but I totally know, like, I'm supposed to be in jail. Like, I know every day. Like, I'm so excited when I go to jail every day. And, like, you know, we'll get co-teachers that'll come in one day and you'll never see them again. I'm like, oh, she'd have a good time. Like, I'm always having lunch in there with the inmates. I love having lunch with my inmates.
You be going the extra mile. I saw one of the meals. It was like something in a carton.
So one of my girls, I see a lot of my girls in the street, right? Like, so when they come home, remember, I work in these non-gentrified areas, so a lot of times I see them back into the world.
Right.
Doing the same thing, and, you know, we'll have recidivism. They'll come right back in. So a revolving door. And so I was like, Bev, I am so tired. She was like, oh, girl, I got you right now. She went and got, like, the 2%, like, school milk. I don't know what she did to me, okay? Somehow it said coffee. I was up for, like, a good 36 hours. Like,
oh, my God.
Wired. Like,
that is hilarious.
You know, Bev in there for drugs. I should have known better. But I was like, if she's up and happy, I need to be what she's on. Jail coffee is so sharp. So I used to garden in jail, too. And the men in jail taught me how to cook. They taught me how to make all types of lasagnas and stuff. When I tell people where I get these recipes, they'd be like, sis, what we're not going to do. I used to take food home. And I'd be like, Ma, we got to try this eggplant lasagna. She was like, where'd you get that food from? I am not eating jail, nothing. Oh, it is a junkyard in Rikers. Where are they gardening? I'm like, sis, they are gardening.
Yeah.
I love jail. I don't want to be there,
right.
but I do want to be there. Like, I do. I totally enjoy it. A lot.
Wow. So talk to me about some of the other spaces that you do Urban Peace Squad in, because I know that you guys have done a lot, right?
Yeah.
You've done workshops.
Yeah.
You go to schools and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
even have like a playlist
Yeah.
on Spotify.
Yeah.
I tell you, I be doing my Googles, girl.
Thank you for doing your homework. So we had like a meditation mixtape that we did, and we used like just 90 classic beats, like Nas, It Was Written, a lot of like Belly soundtracks we used, and then it would just be me talking over the beat, like peace. Everybody deserves peace. What I decided when I started working in jail was like, okay, so I don't need to go to places where it's like highly populated for yoga, because they already have it. Okay. So if you lived in a very like high crime neighborhood, I was gonna go and pop up and do a workshop, like literally like backpacking it to Camden, New Jersey. And I remember when I got to Camden, they were like, why are you here? Nobody comes here. Yeah. And I was like, I know, right? Yeah. Let's do yoga. And it was such a powerful class because, I mean, it took them a good like 15, 20 minutes to just say like, you're really here to teach? Yeah. Like, that's it? And I was like, yeah, girl, yeah. And I got your yoga mats. I was carrying the mats on my back.
And you have good energy. I mean, I would come to a class, right?
Thank you.
Bubbly, bouncing off the walls.
It's the coffee, I swear to God. It is. Yeah, so anywhere where like it's just like destitute, then I'm gonna go. I went to Bridgeport, Connecticut. We went to Atlanta. Atlanta was a really, really amazing class. A lot of my students came from Decatur.
So how did you set this up the correct way, right? Because it is a nonprofit. So what were the things that you had to do behind the scenes in order to make sure that everything was right? You have to have a board and all these other things. It's
difficult because non-for-profits are really popular right now. Mm-hmm. You know, everybody's looking for like a tax deductible. So like Annika became my sponsor, my fiscal sponsor. Okay. Which basically means that my company is under hers. Okay. So she's the non-for-profit and I'm the initiative under hers. We still file under her every year. It's just now I'm not responsible for like filing the taxes. She is, which I really like. Yeah. Because that stuff is tough. Right. So that's how it started. She loved the initiative. And then, you know, because I live in an urban community still, like I was seeing all of our students all the time. And so I was like, there's got to be a way that we can do this. And so she's the one that kind of stepped in and was like, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. So that's how, you know, I'm grateful for her.
I love it. And I know that, you know, a part of the trauma or the things that you try to tackle through Urban Peace Squad is just like self-love, you know, self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Now, you came on the scene and you were known for your gorgeous hair. It's just like, ooh, who's that girl? You became the model for so many campaigns. And I think when you returned to like the All-Stars edition of America's Next Top Model, Nikki was like, where your hair at? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about cutting your hair, because I think one time you cut it on your own, but the other time it wasn't really your choice. So talk to me about that, because we get so caught up in our mane, you know?
Well, you don't know what your crutch is until you don't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I've always had a lot of hair my whole life. And, you know, I was a hair model. And I remember I was living in Chicago. I've lived everywhere. I was living in Chicago, and I went to this guy, and he cut my hair off. And I had just gotten my Garnier Fructis campaign, and my family was devastated. I was devastated. So we just quickly put a weave in and pretended.
Well, you didn't know? You told me it was okay? Like, what happened?
Okay. So I went for a wash and said, I really don't know what happened. That's the thing, right? So, because I know what I came in there for.
Oh, shoot, he left the hair in the sink.
So when he's blowing my hair out, he was like, oh, you need a trim. So I was like, all right, no problem. So my hair, it wasn't very long, but it was about like shoulder length. And he literally cut like in an angle in the back of my head, and the whole salon got quiet. And he was just like, well, they should have hired me for the Garnier Fructis campaign.
What?
Yes. And so, you
didn't go off on him?
I did not.
But
here's why. I had been on TMZ before, and so I just wanted to play like under wraps after that. You know what I mean? Like once you're on TMZ once, you're like, yeah, I'll just eat this one. And so I threw a weave in really fast, and I wouldn't work without weaves. And so then my hair grew to like a nice length. They continued my contract with Garnier. And when I got on the show, that's all the hair I had, my natural hair. And so when they cut it again, I was like, damn, the agency's going to drop me because they about tired of this hair situation. I can't keep telling them it was an accident.
Yeah.
So, people go like.
Who cut it again?
Tara.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she did that. Because Nikki, it was Nikki's fault. It was your fault, girl. So they cut my hair on the show. And so everybody's like, oh, it's just hair. And I'm like, no, it's not just hair. This is my contract.
Right.
So once they cut my hair, I had lost my contract with 2 agencies, and Garnier never renewed my contract. So I was like,
I know you had a hustle for everything that you got because, contrary to popular belief, like the girls from your cycle, like no one got an agency contract. That's what I was hearing. So that's crazy, right? Because they be selling you the dream. You be like, oh, it's gonna be lit when I'm done, but then afterwards, it's kind of like not, There's fine print.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the hustle that you had to have because you were booked, honey.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to me about the hustle, and the strategies that you had to use in order to book the campaigns that you wanted, in order to get those gigs that you thought, I'm assuming, you would have like an easier time at getting.
Yeah. Well, I got really fortunate because like my family were very close knit, and so it was my mom, it was my uncles. They would go with me to all these different, castings. My uncles would, my family started Rough Riders, and so like
say that again.
Yeah, so my family created Rough Riders Entertainment.
What?
Mm-hmm.
She just said that very like, oh yeah, so like, hold up. Let's rewind.
Yeah.
See, I'm listening for y'all.
So they would call it like any resources, any relationships they had, and they'd be like, listen, my niece, she just got off a top model. But I'm a music family, and so nobody still knew about fashion in that way. So they would call in like anything like, hey, do you know any agencies? Where can we go? And I would audition. I did it the right way. I could be very authentic and say like, I didn't get work based on my family, but I definitely got in the door to the interviews and auditions in the beginning through my family, And then after that, I would freelance from like different agencies at a time, and I booked Pantene Pro V on my own because Ford didn't want me.
Okay.
And so at the time, they were like, we're not sure, you're very short. Maybe if you address a couple things, then we'll want you. But when I got Pantene Pro V by myself, they were like, hey, girl, so we heard about this $100,000 contract.
Right.
Why don't you come aboard so we can have 20%?
Right.
But it worked, and I was able to stay with Ford, New York, Chicago, and LA for a very, very long time.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thanks.
I want to get to the entrepreneurial part of your journey because, girl, I thought, was it Breville candles you had? I was like, oh, what's going on with that? Talk to us about some of the businesses or the ideas that you've had that you stopped for whatever reason, like the candles.
Oh, you sound like this one over here. My mother be like, my house used to smell like candles. I don't know what's going on with you. When I started doing yoga, at that time, again, it's really paying attention to the rhythm of my life. And so jobs weren't coming in as frequently. Or when I would go to castings, I would notice that like the energy wasn't the same for me. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, right? Because I didn't know anything about that. And so I started this candle company. Literally, I had like this side job, and one day I was sitting at the office, and I was like, you know what? I'm quitting this. No, I'm not going to quit because I need unemployment checks. I'm going to start a candle company. Mm-hmm. And I did, and I made my entire apartment in LA like a store. Mm-hmm. And I made shelves around my whole house, and I just made candles. And at first, it's always going to be, your first fan base is always going to be your community and your friends, if you got good ones, Mm-hmm. And so my community would come to my apartment, my family, my friends, and they would buy everything. And, we would pulling like $1,000, you know what I mean, off of candles a week. And so I was able to pay my rent while, you know, modeling jobs, I didn't have no money. And then I moved to New York because I was like, there's more traffic in New York. I could like stop people in the street. So I couldn't wait for a job to come in. And so I had to create my own. And so I moved back to New York in 2014. And I started going to Brooklyn to flea markets, selling my candles out of flea markets. I actually met Portia. I was doing gift and sweets at BET, selling my candles there. I would be the one making my candles, you know, putting them together, wrapping them, selling them.
So why'd you stop?
Because it's a burnout. You know, I didn't hire a staff. At the time, it was just me. And I couldn't be all places, and I wasn't educated enough at the time on, like, how to delegate.
Okay.
And I think the difference between a successful business and a very limited one is delegating. You know what I mean? You can't be everything. You can't do everything. You need to learn how to, like, delegate out. And I couldn't release that control of, like, these are my candles, you know what I mean, I put all this time and effort. You're not going to sell it the way that I'm going to sell it.
Right.
You know, you're not going to engage and keep it with those relationships the way that I am. And eventually I couldn't develop two careers at the same time, a yoga career and a candle company. Like, it's impossible. Building one brand is hard.
Right.
So, you know, what I did, and this is very recent, but I just merged the two because they coexist so well.
Right.
So Urban Peace Squad is the candles. Urban Peace Squad is Brevel Candles. Is the yoga. Like, everything is Urban Peace Squad now. Now it's not all under one thing. And Mommy's going to be making the candles.
Mommy's going to be making the candles. She's like, you like them so much, right?
Because I cannot do it.
Right.
I cannot.
So on behalf of everyone here and everyone on the other side of that screen, we just want to thank you for sharing.
That wasn't that bad, because I was like, what you about to say?
I got you. Now, if you guys enjoyed this interview as much as I did, I need you to let me know it. Don't be stingy. Don't be cheap. I need you to like. I need you to comment. I need you to subscribe. I need you to share with all of your friends. And then do some yoga.
And then you can follow me on Instagram. At Bre Scullark, and then also at Urban Peace Squad. And we would love to see you at our next event. Again, it's donation-based. Everybody deserves peace.
Bye.